Ahoy matey, and welcome back to the Commodore's table. Today, we'll be breaking out the charts, and I'll be showing you how navigation makes your life so much easier. So in my library, I found a copy of the Fellowship of the Ring, and in there, on one of the first pages, we have this really awesome map that Tolkien included of Middle-earth. So, why do we want to look at this, and why is this important? Well, if you remember back to the elements of the story, one of the 8 elements of a good story is going to be the setting. So, where is it set, and what are your characters interacting with? Now, we need to understand a few things about the world and what it looks like. So, we're going to be talking about a few different types of maps that are going to help you to build your story and build the world. The first one we're going to talk about is continental maps. Next one we're going to talk about is regional maps, and we're going to take a couple look at those. And then we're also going to talk about smaller city maps and actual location maps and why those are super helpful and important and how to maximize that. So let's talk about continents first. I'm going to bring up this map that I found. I got it from fantasymapmaker.com, and they've got some really cool maps in there that are pretty interesting and useful. Now, I kind of like this map. If you look at it, you see all the kingdoms, and you see a lot of different forests, a lot of different, there's a few seas there, mountain ranges, you've got deserts, you've got swamps. So it's all kind of there, whatever climate and terrain you need. It also has, barbarian regions and large swaths of forest. So if you have elves, you can use those forests, mountain dwarves for the mountains, different barbarian groups, you can put them in those barbarian areas. And one of the things that I think this map really got right was a lot of the kingdoms, they kind of follow some pretty decent borders. There's a couple of them that are, they're all right, but they're not great. The other thing I think they got right was the different cities. So you see there's a lot of cities all over the place, little roads and trade routes. So those trade routes and roads, pretty cool stuff. They have no names on the cities, which I also like. I like not having names because it doesn't lock you into something. If you want to have something different or different names for different things that are more thematically appropriate to your campaign, it's really great not to have them. But if you need something quick and you need something that you don't want to spend a whole ton of time on, something like this works really well for that. Now, they did lock you into the names of the kingdoms, so you'd have to use those and some of the seas, which is okay. It gives you some ideas for how you want to discuss it and put it within the frame of your campaign or the civilizations that are there. So that really helps, but if you don't like being locked into those names, I would suggest find a different kind of map. And this is it's a little bit more of a regional map, not necessarily a continental or world map. But that being said, if you're in a medieval setting or some sort of fantasy setting, you might not be covering a lot of area, and you generally just don't cover a lot of ground in those kinds of settings. So it's good to have some sort of smaller area that people are going to kind of be confined to for the moment. You can always change it up and add a different map in if you want to, or move to a different area. We're going to take a look at another map type that I really like, and this one helps because it doesn't have really anything on it, and I prefer that as a GM. You might not. You might need something quicker and easier to use, but this is something I prefer. So let's take a look at this map. Now, this map is a fantasy medieval map. You can see there's lots of castles on it. There's some lighthouses. And what's really cool, in my opinion, about this map is the geography of it. We've got a lot of geography, a lot of different places. You can see kind of in the bottom of the map that there's a swampy marshland. We've also got some deserts, some mountains, some forests, several lakes. Now, what you'll notice about this map is that there are no geographical distinctions for kingdoms or lands. However, it's actually really easy to make those. So you can see kind of in the middle of the map, we can draw a couple geographic political boundaries here, basically following either rivers or kind of natural choke points in the terrain. We also have some island nations that could exist and some desert outposts. So what's really cool about this map is that it's got a scale. We know which way north is. You'll notice there's not a lot of pre-made detail in this map. You are pretty much free to assign whatever names you want, whatever kingdoms you want, whatever cultures you want. We do have some obvious cultural distinctions from different geographical regions. There's some plains and some deserts and some highlands and mountains and oceanic areas. But other than that, you're free to do with it as you please and put on whatever names you want for wherever you want. And when you're starting out and building a story first, it really helps because you can build the story and then bring it to life through this map. And the players may not know any of these areas, and maybe new arrivals to this location. So it works really well if you have some sort of mystery about it, so that players can kind of fill in the blanks and they feel a bit more compelled to actually explore different regions of the map. Now let's look at more of a pre-made regional map. And I think this map it's kind of smaller scale. You're zooming in as we go with each iteration of the map. And this map is kind of cool because it's got a lot of it pre-made for you. So you get a little locked into stuff, but these local names can help you with ideas on what it's going to look like. So let's take a look at this map and we'll talk about this. Looking at the geography of this map, we have some mountainous highlands and some rolling hills, it looks like. Another thing to note here is that rivers rarely diverge. They're always trying to come together and pass through some sort of area. So what we'll notice here is from the top left and the bottom, they're all coming together kind of in the center of the map. Kind of a cool feature. It's probably a large trade hub of some sort that players would want to visit. Some of the things I like about this map is lots of color. There are lots of descriptive text and lots of opportunities for adventure. I mean, we don't know what's up in the stone wall or the dragon's tail. We do know they're large, imposing, important mountain features. So probably something cool up there that the players could explore. A lot of these towns have a lot of cool stuff that the players could probably explore as well. Another thing I like about this map is that the geography seems to be well thought out, where things are and where things should be. The towns and cities along these different stretches of river are pretty cool. And another great feature about this map is that it's already pre-made, it's ready to go for you, so you don't need to do a lot of work to bring this to life. It's already brought to life for us. One of the things I don't like about this map is all of the names on it. You're locked into those names and have to put those names into your campaign world wherever they might fit. So that is kind of a negative that you have to deal with, but it's nothing too insurmountable. You can always write these into the story somehow, but if it doesn't fit for your particular campaign setting or where you're at, you have to find a different map. Now let's switch over to a different map that's a little more specific as we zoom into the map scale. Now let's take a look at a city map. And this city map is going to, again, kind of follow a theme that you might notice with the maps that I like. Personally, I like the maps that don't have a lot on them, but let's take a look at the city map and talk about that a bit more. Here we've got a city map. I really like this city map. It has a good scale to it. It has a north and south. It has some things that are listed on here, and sometimes with cities, you really want to try and make your own cities, but on the flip side of that, you have these cities that are pre-made. And what's cool about these pre-made cities is you don't have to do a lot of work. You know where it's at. And a lot of these things just kind of fit into a campaign world in different places. Maybe they don't fit into a sci-fi setting, but this is definitely a medieval, high fantasy type map. Looking at it, we've got a great city layout. We have the walls of the city, some outer suburbs. We've got some of the inner main keep. Along the left side of the map, there's a lot of cool places that are listed. So you can check out different inns and different taverns. You can go to different areas and look at parts of the map that you might want to explore a little bit more detail based on your character. So there's a lot of good positives with this map and not too many negatives. It's very descriptive and pretty much everything you'd want. It's not colorful, but you don't always need color to make it work. You can always print this out on some sort of colored paper and hand it to your players and burn the edges, and it makes for a really cool map to add into there. Now I want to look at specific maps of specific things, and I have a lot of these lying around on my hard drive. I just go out there, find a bunch of maps. You can look up a role-playing inn map or something like that, and then what I'm going to show you here, this is an inn. This is the Slipshod Inn, also from Fantasy Mapmaker. And the thing I like about it is that it's all pre-made for you. Everything's kind of set up. You have different rooms and different areas. And this map, obviously it fits in on a riverside or some sort of, maybe coastline. What I really like about it is that it's busy enough that there's a lot of description. So on these larger maps, you're not going to really want that much description because you're going to want to fill it in as you go. But on these smaller maps, you're going to need something quick. A lot of times your PCs will be walking down the road and they'll show up in a place and they'll just need a map for a quick encounter. So having a map like this where you can just go, okay, here's what the inn looks like. Here's the dining area, the bar, all of the rooms. It shows you the accommodation types. You could have a large private room, or maybe they just want a dormitory area, or maybe they're going to sleep in the barn because it's all the money they have. This offers you options for that, and if there's an encounter that's going to break out here or something of that nature, you can use this as an option to work with that and create those encounters, and if there's a big bar fight that breaks out or something like that. So I really like this map. I have tons of them around, like I said. So download a bunch of these and make sure that you have some available to work with your PCs on. World building doesn't have to be hard. There are worlds out there that are pre-built and pre-created by people who did this as a passion project. They did it for their own campaigns, and they put it on the internet so that people can have access to it. I always like to help out the creators if you can. If they have a Patreon, something like that, you can toss them a few bucks. Helps them build these maps and keep creating cool content. And if you're a new GM, it helps you out a lot. Once all of these things are already put in place, you just grab and go. You don't need to change the names. You don't need to fiddle with it at all. You already have a city, and that city's got a name. It's in a kingdom that has a name. Use those. It makes your life so much easier, and you don't have to go through a lot to create a world that is compelling and people understand. Just make sure that when you're building these worlds or when you're using these maps, that they fit into the campaign setting. Having a medieval tavern in a sci-fi setting, it doesn't really work really well unless you have some primitive backwater world that you're going to, which, thematically speaking, could work and could be a cool seed for some adventures. You don't always want to use that in that way, but you want to make sure that that map that you're using fits into the world and is compelling, especially with the visuals. So make sure, as new GMs, you're using these tools out there. It's going to make world building so much easier for you. If you have questions, drop those below, and we will see you next time at the Commodore's table.